Rosie can't follow me now, he thought. She isn't strong enough. But Thomas was wrong. Rosie's pistons were pumping and her boiler was bubbling right behind him. She whistled cheerfully to Thomas. Thomas was very annoyed. "Bother," he huffed. Soon, Thomas came to a junction. One way was the longer but easier way to High Farm. The other way was the shorter but much harder way. Thomas knew that the longer way was safer, but I'll take the shorter way, he wished. Then Rosie won't follow me. She's not strong enough. As the storm raged, Thomas puffed furiously up the steep track. Thomas was almost at High Farm. He was sure Rosie wasn't behind him now. "I won't be seeing any more of her today," tooted Thomas happily. Then there was trouble. Earth and stones tumbled down the bank and blocked Thomas's track. "Cinders and ashes!" cried Thomas. But he still wanted to deliver Alice's presents. "I'll just have to bash my way through," thought Thomas. And he pushed forward into the landslide. Thomas was up to his buffers in mud and stones. He tried to push on, but he couldn't. He tried to back out, but he couldn't. Thomas was stuck. Thomas felt silly and very sad. "I should have listened to Harold," he wished unhappily. "Now Alice won't get her presents on time. I've let her down," he thought sadly. Then he heard the toot of another engine. It was Rosie puffing proudly up the hill behind him. "It's me!" tooted Rosie cheerfully. Then she saw Thomas was stuck. Thomas felt very silly. "I'll go and get help," chuffed Rosie. "Wait a minute," whistled Thomas. "Please, will you deliver Alice's presents for me?" Rosie was very happy. "Of course I will," she puffed. Rosie was soon coupled up to Thomas's freight cars. Then she steamed off to High Farm. Thomas waited for Rosie to come back. He was happy she had followed him after all. Soon Rosie came puffing back down the line. "Alice's mother has telephoned for help," Rosie told Thomas. "Edward is on his way to pull you out." Then Thomas noticed that Rosie had a passenger on board. It was Alice. She had come to thank Thomas for getting her birthday presents to her. "I couldn't have done it without Rosie's help," Thomas puffed. "Now we can all celebrate your birthday together." Thomas tooted happily. And so did Rosie. Rosie is a really useful engine. She likes to work hard whenever she can. But Rosie is not as strong as some of the other engines. Rosie wants to do a good job today. Can you help her choose which job she can do best? At the docks, there is a big load to take to the quarry. Is this the best job for Rosie? No, Rosie is not strong enough to move this heavy load. Rosie will have to look for another job. At the depot, there was a big heavy load to take to the suspension bridge. Is this the best job for Rosie? No, Rosie is not strong enough to move this heavy load either. At the balloon factory, there is another load. It has to go to the school in time for the children's party. But this load isn't heavy. It's balloons. Balloons are light. It's the perfect job for Rosie. Rosie may not be strong, but she's still really useful. Well done, Rosie.
You've got to have strength to make the wheels go round. Strength to lift things off the ground. You've got to have strength to get you to the top. Strength will keep you going when you want to stop. You'll go that extra mile when you're hauling freight, or go a little faster when you might be late. And if there's heavy metal lying on the line, Diesel tends so strong he'll clear it every time. You've got to have strength to make the wheels go round. Strength to lift things off the ground. You've got to have strength to get you to the top. Strength will keep you going when you want to stop. You'll give that little extra when the going's tough. Strength will keep you puffing when you've had enough. Just remember as you're speeding down the track, strength not only takes you there, it brings you back. You've got to have strength to make the wheels go round. Strength to lift things off the ground. You've got to have strength to get you to the top. Strength will keep you going when you want to stop. You've got to have strength to make the wheels go round. Strength to lift things off the ground. You've got to have strength to get you to the top. Strength will keep you going when you want to stop.
The island of Sodor is a wonderful place. Thomas enjoys puffing all over the island. There are lots of special places to visit. Where's this? That's right. It's the coaling plant. The coaling plant is a very important place on the island of Sodor. All the steam engines need coal, so every day is a busy day at the coaling plant. One day, Thomas had been given shiny new freight cars. He didn't want to get them dirty. So Thomas backed his new cars slowly and carefully under the hopper. But Thomas's new cars wanted to be dirty. So they biffed and bashed just as the coal came out of the hopper. Thomas and the freight cars were covered in coal. But Thomas saw the cars were much happier being dirty. Coal cars are not only dirty, they're heavy. One winter's day, Edward had to work with James. The tracks were very icy. James was in a hurry, but Edward didn't want to rush. James didn't know how very icy the tracks were. His wheels started to slip and slide. James applied his brakes as hard as he could. But it was too late. Luckily, no one was hurt. Working in the coaling plant is dirty work. And some engines like to stay clean. One day, the railway inspector was going to give a prize. James, Gordon, and Emily were each quite sure they'd win. They wanted to find the sunniest spot at the coaling plant to show off their shiny paintwork. James wanted to be in the best place. Then there was trouble. He didn't look where he was going. He reversed into some freight cars that rolled backwards into a lever, which opened the coal hopper and covered the engines in coal. It was a disaster. James, Emily, and Gordon were covered in coal dust. Just then, the railway inspector and Sir Topham Hatt arrived. Gordon blew to clear his funnel, and the railway inspector and Sir Topham Hatt were covered in dust too. So that's why the coaling plant is very special for James. There are so many special places on the island of Sodor. Next time, Thomas will show us somewhere else. Percy has two heavy jobs to do today. First, Percy has to move 2 cars of slate into a siding. The slate is very heavy. What can Percy do? Percy has a good idea. He's pulling the cars 1 car at a time. Well done, Percy. Percy has moved both the cars of heavy slate. Now, Percy has to move lots of coal, but he only has 1 freight car. What can Percy do? Percy has another good idea. He moves the coal a little at a time. Well done, Percy. Percy has done both his jobs. He's not just strong, he's very clever. Duncan's Bluff. It was winter time on the island of Sodor. Duncan was busy puffing through the White Mountains and the frosty forests. He was proud to be a narrow-gauge engine. Duncan was delivering coal to the villages. They were going to need extra coal from the main coaling plant. So James and Thomas brought coal to the wharf. Duncan chuffed in to talk to James. "You were a long time getting here," teased Duncan. "You're lucky I came at all," wheezed James crossly. "I've got an important job to do later. I'm taking some children to a concert." "Oh, is doing 2 jobs in 1 day too hard for you?" Duncan chuffed cheekily. "Ha," snorted James. "I can do more jobs in 1 day than you can. I'm really useful." This made Duncan cross. "How about a wee contest?" chuffed Duncan. "I bet I can take more coal to the villages faster than you can deliver it." "All right," puffed James. "You're on." "I'll show you who's fastest," chuffed Duncan. But Duncan was worried. James was big and strong. "I hope I can be as fast as James," he puffed nervously. So Duncan delivered all his coal as fast as he could. "Must be James, must be James," he puffed. But when Duncan arrived back at the wharf, James was waiting for him. I told you mainline engines were the fastest, teased James. Duncan looked at the long line of freight cars. There was plenty of coal for the villagers there, but Duncan didn't want to lose. Oh, is this all you brought? He tooted. The villagers need lots more coal than that. Then I'll bring more coal than you have ever seen, huffed James. James raced back to the coaling plant. And Duncan delivered the coal to the villagers. Now all the villagers had plenty of coal.